Thank you for joining in the final hours of DrupalCon. Thank you for staying. Today I'm going to tell you a story about how me and my team improved our deployment process during the time frame of 5 years. It was a long project, we learned a lot, and I wanted to share with you what we didn't know at the beginning and what we know now, and how this will help us approach the next project that we encounter. So I will briefly introduce myself and tell you how we initially started, and then we'll tell you what actually turned out to be, what we didn't know, and of course what retrospective we had, and what are our takebacks for the future, and of course a couple of questions in the end. So my name is Toni, I'm a quality assurance automation lead in Jakawa, and I started my QA career over 12 years ago with Drupal 7. Started as a junior QA, had no previous experience in the IT, and now I'm leading our automation team and trying to help other teams improve their development and deployment processes based on the experience that we had during this long project for 5 years. About my company, Jakawa is a global company that is operating in several continents. We try to offer our clients a wide variety of technologies. Of course, Drupal is one of them. And we have a lot of Acquia certified developers and QAs and frontenders. So how it started? Basically, our client approached us with the request to build a Drupal instance that was the cornerstone of the platform, and it was coupled with a couple of React apps, of course, to serve the dynamic content and searches. And then we decided that to get the most out of it, accompanying the React apps, we should serve the static pages fast. That's why we chose to use the TOM module, which is generating static pages out of the Drupal nodes. And of course this caused QA some trouble after that. But for those of you who are familiar with the TOM module, maybe you know what I'm talking about. We'll speak more later. So what were the initial requirements? As you guess, unfortunately, and maybe always, the requirements are not very clear, as always. And what we were tasked to do was let's build our platform to unify all our websites, because the client had were serving 40 different countries, and each country had different platform, and when they want to introduce new feature, they had to develop it 40 times for each country, for each platform. And that's why we decided it must be a clever way, and the way was to build a core platform that will serve all the countries. And of course some countries have their specific needs, like there is a difference if you are building something for USA, where there are hundreds of millions of people. And of course, I'm from Bulgaria. Maybe if you are building something for Bulgaria, we are just 6.5 million people. We don't have much requirements, let's say. And the scope of the countries actually, and their business value, because the business model was that each country, depending on how big it is, they have their budgets, and of course the countries with bigger revenue had bigger budgets, and they were so-called, let's say it, holding the cards, what was important and what was not. And each country has its specific functionalities and integrations, of course, with because they are multi-continental, and in Europe we have some regulations, in US there are different regulations, in China, because we were using AWS, and not all services of AWS are available in all the regions. This was also a tricky one, because in China the services that AWS offer are very limited, and you cannot rely on anything. Basically there was no static pages, unfortunately, and that was one of the tricks that we had to use. From QA side, at the time as a company and as a team we were using Behat. I don't know if you are aware with it. Some of you are. As an automation framework, it's very popular in the Drupal community because it had tight integrations with Drupal. And yeah, as a trick that the client played us was that the first country was a single language, and of course it was English. And yeah, this played us a trick because in the future when you introduce different countries with multiple languages, especially special character languages like Chinese or some other language, this may play some tricks. And yeah, when we started, the tests were running locally because we had very few tests. There was no need for CI setup. Of course, this was one of the mistakes that we made and learned from. So then, what happened? The platform grew to over 40 different countries, with some of them having up to 3 different languages. So multilingual was very important to be working properly. We ended up with over 13,000 steps. I don't know if you've written any tests. They were shared across 700 feature files. And yeah, the Drupal instance was connected to at least 4 different React apps. The content that was created in Drupal was indexed, and the apps we were using them because they provided more flexibility for searches. And of course, each country had very specific external services, and there were over 20 of them. So what we learned, because me as a QA I like to create the tests to follow a user journey, not having a test for each specific functionality. I believe that having a flow, for example, user registers, then does something on the site, performs a checkout if it's a commerce website, or places an order, applies for a job or something like this. Then of course try all these multiple functionalities, try to delete your account at the end. This is what I call a journey, and I prefer to create tests that flow this way, like a normal user will flow, not test only the registration and that's it. And this is one of the things that I think helped us make our coverage bigger and cover the basic functionalities, the most important ones, the business critical functions, without having to have like repetitive tests. Because if you just test the registration form and then you want to test the checkout form with logged-in user, there's no need to create it twice, because during the checkout of a logged-in user, for example, you need to be registered. It's a requirement, so you can combine them. And in order to cover and to make our lives easier when we want to test just a core functionality or a country-specific functionality, we use the Behat's one of the core features, the tagging system. That way, when the client required us or we wanted to verify that all the core functionalities and for example Austrian functionalities work, we can just run the core and Austria tags, and this way we were making sure that we are covering this. And after that, as I mentioned, initial tests were running locally. Then we switched to running them in AWS, and we share out a nightly run to run all the tests during the off hours, for both dev and pre-production environments, the release candidate environment, which helped us by delivering a report in the morning. That way our QA team was checking this report, and this way we managed to catch all the bugs that the developers introduced the day before. And I think this helped us also a lot to not release any bugs further starting from dev, and especially it was very important. I will talk about this right now. A couple of days before a release day, we had an internal agreement to lock the release candidate branch, no more merges. If you miss the deadline, you have to wait for the next release in order to change. And basically we had an agreement with our client that there's nothing that can make us break this rule. So basically, even if the client said let's do it, we risk it, we tried almost all the time to never agree on that, because it will break our flow, and we cannot guarantee that everything will went smooth. And I believe that everyone was happy with that, and this kind of pushed the developers and also the clients to follow this deadline, and if they wanted something to be released, they had to focus on this to have everything merged by this defined by ours, the date defined by us. And yeah, usually after code deployment, there was again an AWS build, but this time all only focused on production, which was triggered manually because each deploy took different time, and at the end we shortened that time a lot. Initially our deploys for better were taking a couple of hours, but yeah, because there were many issues that we faced, but at the latest months we struck down this to like an hour altogether, and the tests only were 20 to 30 minutes. So basically the development work was half the work and the testing was the other half, but this was also an essential part of our goal to catch bugs before the clients, and especially before their end users. So then there was the idea to create our own framework, because Behat was getting older and not really actively supported. Assume the guys that work with it may know, actually version 3 was released in 2014, and since then there was no major version upgrade. Also the Mink extension, which is essential part of the Behat, was the repo is basically archived right now, and there are some good people that forked it and keep supporting it. But I remember a time that there was a bug with I don't remember which version of Chrome, but basically there was an issue that all the JavaScript was breaking in this specific Chrome version, and the Mink version that was back then the latest one. So the option was either to downgrade our Chrome or downgrade Mink, and there were like 3 months that we used an older version of Chrome, which of course is not ideal. Nobody will recommend that. That's why me and my colleagues decided that maybe it's a good idea to create a framework that is more modern and of course fitting our needs. And the other thing that was causing us trouble is that the 13,000 steps that I mentioned were taking about 8 hours to run, and we started hitting the AWS code build limits, which are 8 hours. And yeah, you can extend them if you specifically ask Jeff Bezos to do that, but it's not really that common. And the idea for the framework came, and basically it's combining Cucumber and Puppeteer. With Cucumber you might be familiar from Behat. That was also one of the requirements that we had to not rewrite our tests again, to use the already written tests, just the framework behind them to be different and they to be executed in a more modern way. And Puppeteer is a JavaScript library which provides high-level API control over your browser. It's developed by Google, which gave us hope that it will be more maintained and actively developed in the future. So the framework is Node.js based, and actually one of my colleagues did a presentation yesterday. Unfortunately the time frame is wrong. Maybe if I did my presentation earlier before his, I would have invited you to listen more if you want, but you will have to wait for the recordings if you want to learn more. But of course the repo is there. It's called Cuphead, the new platform, so everyone is welcome to check it out and contribute. And yeah, if you want to learn more, I guess when the DrupalCon Association uploads the recordings, you can listen to his session. And yeah, let's talk about the retrospective, what I learned from myself, what I'm trying to teach to my colleagues right now from technical and personal perspective. So first of all, if some task or anything that you are doing on your daily basis is painful, you have to automate it. Even today with all this AI power that we have, it really is a must. or something is broken and you need to fix it. Like the example I gave, running the tests locally was not optimal. Of course, we need to use the power of the cloud, and that's what we did. And also, unfortunately, due to the architecture not starting really great, we ended up with 150 GitHub repos, which was not very optimal to open merge requests on a release day for 150 repos. And one of the developers created an automated tool that goes through all of them, creates pull requests, and hopefully if there are no merge any conflicts, merges them automatically on his ping. But basically it was all a command line prompt, small script that helped him a lot, because if you want to open 150 merge requests, it's a pain. Operational excellence is not optional. This is something that I believe we should always strive to, and it will help us a lot to improve our efficiency on the first point, and of course our performance, which will make the clients happy, of course, because everyone loves saving some money. And then this also has been my motto during the years. First, we need to make it work. If you are building something new, just make it stable enough to work. Then worry about making it right, because your first try will not be always the best case. You will not follow the best practices, but first at least make it work, then make it right, and of course at the end you can focus on optimizing, because I see a lot of people just focusing on making all these three things at the same time, and this will take a lot of time. You will first make it locally to work, then you make it right, and then you make it work fast, but by the end when you finish it took a couple of months, and it's good to deliver something to see that you're working on it. And I think that everyone should focus on making it fast and of course reliability over new features is also very important. I'm glad that me and my team managed to convince the client that we should take care of our technical debt. We should not leave it back in the backlog at the bottom in a bucket of 1,000 tickets. And I'm happy that we managed to dedicate the last year, because I was part of the team that is securing the production environments. So I'm happy that from these 5 years, the last one was dedicated especially to clearing this backlog, and we should have started sooner, but at least that's something to remember, to not leave anything for someday, and make sure that someday is tomorrow, not after 5 years. And as we are running out of time, I wanted to add one more thing, that be a good human is far more important skill than being technical, because in this world where everyone's interacting with AI, chatbots, etc., I think the human interaction will be more and more valuable, because everyone loves to work with someone that is understandable, that is not the next chatbot, and I guess this will be valued in the future. If you have any questions, we have 2 minutes. Thank you.